Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of my second season of the Guide to Google Spreadsheets. Today we're going to be going over the basic information you need to make formulas. To start, you can make a copy of this document. It's available in a link in the description of this video, and I would recommend making a copy so that it's possible to follow along throughout this lesson. So, just for a quick lesson overview, firstly, we'll be going over the basic rules for making equations and making formulas in Google Spreadsheets. Then we'll be completing a practice task, the first one, and then the second practice task will be left as homework in case anyone would like additional practice with the software. So, let's get in with the lesson. The first rule when writing equations is that all equations must start with an equal sign. As in math, an equation doesn't count as an equation unless it has an equal sign. So, to illustrate this, we can try typing in 2 plus 2 in a cell, and we'll notice that it doesn't do anything. It just has 2 plus 2 there. If we go and edit it and add an equal sign at the start, then you'll notice that the 2's turn blue. And what this indicates is that Spreadsheets, the software, is reading these 2's as numbers that can be used in a calculation. If we click enter now, then it will give us a calculated result of 4. Secondly, let's go over the notation. These are the symbols that we're going to be using in most of our formulas. The addition and subtraction is fairly simple. It's our simple plus and minus sign. But the multiplication, division, and exponents are all possibly unfamiliar symbols. This is because Google Spreadsheets is a browser-based system, and it wants to use symbols that are going to be available on just about anybody's laptop or computer. As the multiplication symbol is not a symbol that's going to be on a normal keyboard, they instead use an asterisk, which is this little star thing. As practice, you can just try and find that little symbol on your keyboard. It's just going to be a little star, right? And then we can try that in an equation and see it works. With division, it's going to be a slash, this line, right? So, once again, try and find that on your keyboard and put it into an equation. For exponents, it's going to be this little up-facing arrow. And once you found that on your keyboard, try and use it in an equation. So we'll say 3 to the power of 2, which is 9. And these are all the symbols that you should know. The last thing that I'd like to bring up is cell referencing. Cell referencing, although it sounds complicated, is rather simple. It's basically just using the value from a different cell in the equation. So, for example, say we have values 1, 2, and 3, right? And then in the next column, we want to make some sort of formula based on those. So we'll say the formula is very simple. We'll say the formula is just whatever number's here minus 1. The way you reference a cell is by using the letter that's in its column and the number that's in its row. For example, cell A1 will be this one right here. So this cell right here is E4 because it's in column E and row 4. As can be seen now, as I've clicked it, it's inputted the column label right here, E4. That's one trick that you can use. If you don't want to type it out, then you can just click on the cell that you want to reference and it'll input it into the formula. But similarly, you can also type it out yourself and it'll glow a little yellow. And this will let you know that the spreadsheet is understanding it as a cell value, as a reference, right? And so our formula is to just take this and remove 1, and now we get 0. Google Sheets also has a suggested autofill function. It's gonna ask if you want to fill in your formula further. The other way that you can do the autofill function without it asking you if you'd like to use it is to, well, highlight the cell with your formula, and at the bottom right of that cell you'll see this little blue dot. Once you put your mouse over it, it'll become a plus sign, and you can just drag that down And see now, it's filled in our formula, which is just this number minus 1, and it's filled that in for the remaining values. So, to just quickly recap this section, all equations must start with an equal sign. These are the symbols that you want to use when you're writing your formulas. And in order to reference a different cell, you want to use its column and row. This is the practice task. We have instructions for each column, so I'll give you guys a few seconds to read through. So, column A, the instruction is to start at 1 and increase by 1 for every row. That's simple enough. The first number is going to be 1. Although it may seem tempting to just go like that with your keyboard input, we want to try and use the formulas function for it. So instead, we're going to go equal sign, and then we can reference the cell above us, and then say plus 1, right? And then now we have 2 here. And then now we can drag this down, and it'll autofill. Now, for column B, it's asking us to have the values in column A and square them. If we remember our rules for exponents earlier, we want to use the little up arrow symbol. So when we start writing out our equation, we'll reference the cell in the A column. In this case, that's A5. You can type it out or you can click it, both work. And then to the power of, with that little up arrow symbol, and then squared, right? So that would be to the power of 2. And then now we input that, and it also has an autofill. If we look at these autofill values, these seem about right, so we can accept that, and now we have column B done as well. The last column, column C, and with column C, we want the differences between consecutive column B values. What may that mean? Well, consecutive column B values, that would mean, between these two values, what's the difference? Between these two values, what's the difference, right? And a way we could get that is by taking the bigger value and subtracting the smaller value, right? So, in order to calculate that, we would reference the first cell, and then use a minus sign, and then reference the second cell. Notice Google Sheets will make the two cells different colors so that you can tell them apart. And that seems right. Now we can drag that down, and this is the task complete. The task is to create formulas to calculate the volumes and surface areas of basic shapes with an inputted length. So, I won't give you the solution, but I'll give you a few pointers. These 3 shapes are all 3D, and they all have very simple formulas for calculating their surface area and volumes. With cubes, tetrahedrons, and spheres, you want to input a length, and then these 2 formulas for all of these shapes is going to be dependent on that length that you input. The only variable will be that length, meaning that in your solution, you will want to use the formula and then use a cell reference to reference this cell so that you are able to input a length and get a result, depending on that. I will be seeing you in a few weeks for our lesson 3. Make sure to like and subscribe as well.